Hi guys, client journalism refers to a journalistic approach where reporters align themselves closely with those in power. And we had another example of it with Laura Kuenssberg on our Sunday show. She was interviewing David Lammy of the Labour Party and grilled him on the latest non-story being hammered home by the Tories, Angela Rayner and her tax affairs following the sale of a house 15 years ago. The amount of money we're talking about is maximum £3,000. Loose change compared to what senior Tories, including the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, were struggling to explain. Have a listen to this.
Okay, we've been talking about transparency and legal advice. The newspapers this morning have new allegations about your colleague, the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, Angela Rayner, and the sale of her home some years ago and whether the proper tax was paid. Now, this has been rumbling around for a while. She has refused to publish the advice she said that she was given that says she did nothing wrong. Why doesn't she just publish it if she's so sure she did nothing wrong and just clear this all up?
But there's nothing new in this story this morning.
Well, why not just publish it so she could move on?
Let me make the point. Angela Rayner has a blended family, effectively like millions of Britons. She did spend time in her husband's home, and they would have balanced childcare across two homes. That's perfectly understandable. She took the appropriate accountancy advice. She took the appropriate legal advice. She's not broken any rules, not broken any laws. This is a non-story. Why is the story up in the news? Because we have the May elections very shortly. We want to avoid talking about the fact that we have the highest tax burden in this country, that people are £870 worse off as a result of this Tory chaos. That's why we're talking about Angela Rayner. She has a blended family, like lots and lots of people. Who balance childcare arrangements across different places.
Some of your critics might say that people are talking about it.
People are talking about it, Laura. Which people? Because the people you're saying are talking about it is the Conservative Party and the right-wing press. The general public are not talking about it. The general public don't give a hoot about Angela Rayner's tax affairs 15 years ago when she sold, I believe, a council house. This is a story because the right-wing media want to make it a story. It's a bit like when Keir Starmer had a curry. Do you remember when Keir Starmer had a curry during the pandemic? The Daily Mail ran front page after front page for something like 10 days straight when it turned out he had not broken any rules because he had a curry at a work event. Now, when it comes to Boris Johnson, no, don't talk about Boris Johnson. And the same here. Angela Rayner is not in power. That's one aspect. And also, this is something that happened 15 years ago. Now, it's not because it happened 15 years ago that it needs to be swept under the carpet. It's the police have not investigated because there's nothing to investigate. There's nothing new here. Nothing new has come out. This is the Tories trying to find dirt on anyone within the Labour Party and bring it up before the general election, before the local elections, in order to try and, win over a few voters. This is them playing dirty tricks.
Because she won't just publish the full advice, and then if there's nothing there to see, then she could move on.
We haven't got any kind of constitutional convention I'm aware of, other than for prime ministers and leaders of the opposition, where they publish their tax affairs. That's the situation we've got. Why do we land on this northern woman who had an arrangement with her husband, a blended family? Why do we focus on her and say that she should be the exception? She shouldn't be the exception. She hasn't broken any rules. This is because of the May elections and the Tories not wanting to concentrate on their actions, on rising inflation, of cost of living, on rising utility bills. Those are the issues that we should be focused on, and those are the issues that they want us to obscure.
Exactly. He's completely correct. I'm not David Lammy's biggest fan, but he's completely correct here. This is about distracting the public. The Tories don't want you to focus on the cost of living. They don't want you to focus on a tax burden. They don't want you to focus on the NHS. They want you to focus instead on Angela Rayner and her tax returns. And when it comes to tax returns, of course, the Tories are not suggesting that every MP publish their tax returns, because that would be pretty embarrassing. Now, what should Angela Rayner do? There are two ways she can approach this. She can publish it and try and get it out of the way, or she can double down. Now, if she publishes it then the Tories will just move on to their next victim. They're not going to go, oh, okay, she has nothing to hide. Okay, let's stop digging for dirt. No, they're going to look into other ways. So either way, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. If she does publish the tax returns or whatever she has to publish, the Tories will either will continue on her, or they'll move on to another member of Parliament or Keir Starmer or somebody like that. If she doesn't, they're going to continue using their tools in the media, like Laura Kuenssberg, it seems, to continue pushing this story, this non-story, and instead allow the public to be distracted from the real issues. Once again, we must remember Angela Rayner is not in the government. She's not making decisions for ordinary people. People like Jeremy Hunt, who owns 7 properties and had some issues with stamp duty. He's in charge, and he's making decisions that impact people's lives. But we don't want to focus on him, and we prefer to focus on Angela Rayner, it seems. This is all about distracting the public. It's a tool. They use it all the time. In the run-up to the local elections, try and convince the public not to focus on the disaster of the last 14 years and instead focus on Angela Rayner. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.